Charania has just delivered another Houston Rockets update as GM Rafael has officially made a move on Jock Landale. We give you the details as to why this move was made right here on Rockets Digest. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rockets Digest. I'm your host, Donovan Ricondo. And as always, we appreciate you joining us. And if you want to stay up to date on all of your Rockets news, go ahead, hit that subscribe button below. We are covering all of it. You do not want to miss a thing. Now, we get to the news for today, where Charania has officially announced that the Houston Rockets are waiving center Jock Landale ahead of his July 7th guarantee date. Sources tell ESPN. Landale is expected to sign with his preferred destination upon clearing waivers. Now, this is something that was certainly expected from the Houston Rockets front office. They originally had the date at June 29th, I believe, was when they were supposed to make a decision on this date. They pushed that back to July 7th. In the end, the Rockets were trying to find a trade for Jock Landale, but nothing was found to came to fruition on that. And so now they have decided to officially waive Jock Landale. And there's a reason why they decided to do that with him, as Daniel Lerner reports from the Houston Chronicle, saying this right here. With Landale off the books, the Rockets can keep their payroll below the NBA's first apron threshold after making a blockbuster trade for Kevin Durant and adding Dorian Finney-Smith and Clint Capella in free agency. And that's a very big deal for this front office. The first apron is somewhere no team wants to be in. Of course, there are those penalties that come with being in the first apron. You definitely do not want to put yourself in the second apron, which we are far from, for at least right now, right? As the harsher penalties for that would have a tremendous effect on the long-term building of this team. But, Jock Landale was a guy who certainly fulfilled his role on this team, being the third center for this team, only really playing when either Adams was hurt, when Şengün needed a break, or garbage time minutes. As you see from his stats right here, he made solid contributions for the limited amount of minutes that he played. He only played around, I believe it was 12 minutes this year, down from 14 last year. Again, modest numbers for a guy who is very talented, the Australian, who quite frankly has shown signs of growth in this league and being a quality backup big for a lot of teams. And so he is on his way to one of his preferred destinations, wherever he feels will be the best fit for him. And so we wish him nothing but the absolute best in terms of Jock Landale and his career. And Daniel Lerner, goes on to say, talking more about this trade as well, saying that, quote, Houston now has the maximum 15 players on standard contracts and might still free up an additional roster spot by waiving guard Nate Williams or trading wing Cam Whitmore. So there's the Cam Whitmore trade talks again about him possibly being traded, or of course waiving Nate Williams. You can the 5 standard contracts you can have on your roster, and so those are moves that we expect to hear a final decision on relatively soon. The status of both Nate Williams and Cam Whitmore. I know Cam Whitmore has been in the news a lot lately in terms of what in the heck is going to happen with him. We've seen a lot of teams like the Nuggets, like the Bulls, who are very, very interested in Cam Whitmore. And so once the details about that situation comes out, then by all means, right, we will give you that information as soon as it does right here on this channel, give you a full breakdown as to why, what the trade details look like, and as to why, and all things such like that. But I want to go back to Jock Landale and his departure from this team, which, as respectfully as I can say, right, I don't think this has a major effect on this roster and its championship aspirations. But anyways, I think we can all agree on that, right? Like, Jock Landale is a great player. He's a great backup, but at the same time, not necessary for this roster, especially considering the fact of the additions and the deals we have made this past offseason, re-signing Steven Adams, now signing Clint Capella as well. So you can really see the investment that Ime Udoka has put on this double big lineup. Of course, you can have that with Şengün and Steven Adams, but at the same time, if in times where Steven Adams, needs a break, right? Load management. He is a vet in this league who has been around for a very, very long time. He needs some rest as well, right? Try to keep him as healthy as possible for the playoffs, and that's why you get a guy like Clint Capella, who has shown, him being a former Houston Rocket, being one of our starters for a very long time, it's great to have him back, right? It's great to have Clint Capella back on this roster and kind of in a more supplementary role than his previous stint here in Houston. He's serving as that backup big for Steven Adams, right? And so when we see, three solid bigs with Şengün, Adams, and Clint Capella, it shows that the investment is there, and it's going to be a scheme that Ime Udoka, maybe not necessarily use all the time. I think it'll be very similar to what we saw last year, using it in certain stretches down the floor in the game whenever there needs to be a spark, right? I feel like it's a good closing scheme. End of quarters, second, third quarter, I feel is some thing that scheme would be used. Of course, in very intense situations and close games, I could also see it being used in that aspect, similar to Golden State Warriors playoff series when Adams played a lot more minutes, as Ime Udoka was noticing that they, quite frankly, could not stop Adams' presence on the court, and so that is something to be expected from this squad next season. But yes, that is the update with Jock Landale. Now, again, the whole Nate Williams and Cam Whitmore situation, we will give you the updates as those come along. I expect them, in my opinion, to keep Nate Williams on this team, considering the reports that we have seen prior about wanting to retain those three free agents, Jeff Green, Jae'Sean Tate. And so I expect Nate Williams' deal to be had, and him getting that 14th roster spot. As far as Cam Whitmore, who the heck knows right now with Cam Whitmore? It seems to be a situation that's kind of like a pendulum. He's going to be playing for us next year, and then a report comes out, and then it's like, oh, well, never mind. And so we're going to wait and see what happens with Cameron Whitmore on his status as a Houston Rocket. Is he going to be on the team next year? And that's why I kind of want to bring it back to all of you guys right now. First and foremost, what do you think about Jock Landale? Ultimately, I don't think anyone's weeping tears about Jock. I think he will be sorely missed, but at the same time, I think waiving him was by all means the right move to make. Free up some money, free up that cap space, but as well, what to do with Cameron Whitmore? Because as we've said, non-trade assets are kind of the thing that's going to be included in a trade, and so we're thinking second rounder, first rounder, cash, whatever that may be. So you would still free up that roster spot if a trade were to be made for Cam Whitmore. And so let me know in the comments, do you think trading a guy like Cam Whitmore is going to be the next move that this team makes? Is that going to be the move that GM Rafael Stone says, hey, look, that seems to be the right way to go? If you ask me, at this point in his relationship with the team, I think it's something that kind of has to be done at this point. I do think, to bring back a guy who you've kind of had some sort of intrinsic problem with is just not going to benefit him as a player and his development, but also I think the team as well. So I do think a trade is going to be on the books for GM Rafael Stone. But there is a new Houston Rocket development that will be talked about in a video posted in a little bit. So stay tuned for all of that. It is some very exciting, important news. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it, but we got a video on that on Rocket Digest posting in a couple hours. So stay in tune for that. As always, I am Donovan Ricondo. It is a great pleasure to be your host. We'll see you next time on the next episode of Rocket Digest. Stay tuned. Adios.